Coming up next is the Dr. Kim Taylor Show. Here's your chance to talk about what matters to you. Although you'll receive helpful advice from Dr. Kim, remember this is not to be construed as any form of psychotherapy, diagnosis or treatment, and cannot replace a therapeutic relationship with a mental health professional. You can reach Dr. Kim by calling 564-1290 or 866-564-1290. You can also listen live on the internet at drkimtaylorshow.com. Now, here's Dr. Kim.
Today we're talking about some new and exciting technology that is being created to help in the mental health field to specifically improve issues including depression and stress-related disorders. We hear all the time about how people are more connected today than ever before through social networks and online peer support groups. There's even software for teletherapy apps that let users connect remotely with their therapists. And then, of course, they can also use self-guided tools that they can practice on their own. But how well is all of this working out? And can this same kind of technology take up the noble goal of treating these disorders successfully? Well, the truth is, today many individuals who suffer from depression or stress are seeking out web-based treatments that include group support as an alternative to interacting with a therapist or as an adjunct to their own ongoing therapy. Mental health issues are going to touch everyone at some point in their lives, whether it becomes an issue with you or with someone that you know. We will all be impacted, so today more than ever, researchers are looking for ways to meet this challenge and to really better help those that are suffering. And with the technology that we use every day, we are going to be able to do a better job of supporting our psychological well-being. Joining me today are three such innovators who are creating platforms to intervene in the treatment of depression and stress through personalized programs. So if you have any thoughts or comments, by all means give me a call at 564-1290, or you can email me at drkim@drkimtaylorshow.com. Come on back after the break. We have lots more to talk about, and my guests will be here to answer your questions. I'm Dr. Kim Taylor, and you're listening to KZSB AM 1290.
You are listening to Dr. Kim Taylor on KZSB AM 1290.
We are talking about new and innovative ways that people are working in the mental health field to incorporate technology and the internet to help deal with mental health issues. And joining me today is Hardy Premsuk. He is the CEO and founder of StressWell IQ, and he's developing a new stress management tool to help alleviate the detrimental effects of chronic stress. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Dr. Kim. I'm glad to be on the program.
We do currently have tools to measure our glucose levels or to monitor our blood pressure. But what you are doing is you are developing something that is going to be able to help monitor and treat our stress levels. So what is this new technology?
What we're calling it is a closed-loop digital stress management platform. And it's comprised of three areas. Physiological, so using a wearable device to measure your autonomic nervous system functioning. As well, the second area we look at is biological. So using your smartphone, you will have this lab-on-a-chip type device at your home that you can put a sample on, saliva sample, and you take a picture of it with your smartphone, and it will be able to give you a readout of what your cortisol level, for example, is. So the best-known stress hormone. And the last area is we use a survey to measure your psychological stress. So it's very robust. The system, the closed loop, we also provide interventional solution. So, for example, the mindfulness-based stress reduction program is very well known in the literature these days, including exercise, self-compassion, sleep hygiene. These are things that will help you to reduce your stress. So hence closed-loop digital stress management platform. So not only are we helping you to really quantify your stress on these domains, but also give you the solutions to help you with that, to mitigate your stress level.
So how exactly is this going to help the patient and the doctor?
Let's start with the patient first. So the patient will be able to buy it from us directly, if they choose to, as an example, and they will get it, and it's very easy to use. You set it up, and there will be an app that comes with it. It's the wearable device, and these what we call the biochips, easy to set up, and you start using it on a daily basis. So it's meant to be continuously worn. So in the moment, for example, if you're experiencing a stressor, let's say you don't like public speaking, you're tasked giving a presentation to a group of people, it will alert you that your stress level is rising. So then then it will intervene with maybe take a deep breath or take a time out and breathe. That's the simplest, best known physiological response in terms of calming yourself down, is taking a deep breath, as an example. So the feedback is the main sort of driver in terms of helping the client. Now, for example, like yourself, as a psychologist, you have patients. We envision the system in such a way, built it from the ground up, to be able to, say, for example, you refer this to one of your clients. You will be able to then monitor that client if they're engaging in, let's say, for example, they want to start an exercise program. You can see how that exercise program is coming along. You know, are they on track? Are they off track? And potentially, depending on the duration before they see you again, the next visit, maybe we do a retest on your cortisol level and see how maybe that exercise is impacting your stress level. And your cortisol level is a good correlation to look at. So it's very robust, and it makes it easy for like yourself as the doctor to be able to get this data, and then spend most of your time actually speaking with your client.
So this is a way to really make that a very customized plan for the patient, that the doctor will have access to this and will continue to help to improve your ability to monitor and to deal with your own stress levels.
Correct.
Okay.
And based on all my research, one of the things, we're very poor at judging or perceiving our own stress level, physiological stress, that is. And this is a device that actually will help you. It will nudge you to say, you know what, you're getting your stress level is getting up there. Maybe engage in these 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever methodologies you choose to engage with to bring down your stress level. Usually deep breathing, taking a deep breath, for example.
And what has been the general feedback from people who have tested this and used it?
We're just in prototype stage right now, so the feedback has been fantastic because it is a comprehensive system, yet simple for the average person to use it. So the feedback has been great, both from an end user and also physicians and our psychologists, therapists, because it lends itself well to not only quantify but manage and for you to flourish. So that's exciting, and very exciting for us.
Mm-hmm. And when do you expect it to be available for the general public?
We're just in the process of finalizing the design and everything else. I'm going to say within the next 12 months,
Okay.
somebody can actually have it in their hands and use it, or a doctor.
Okay. And what was it that made you get involved in this?
I like technology, and I like, the simple things in life, because that's what really got me to where I am today. And 5 years ago, I made a decision that I'm going to sort out the best technology to come up with a system that one can quantify your stress level. So, for example, we're working with a doctor right now that developed an algorithm for us, and it's a patent-pending algorithm to assess your stress level. Not only your stress level, but your physiological coping. So how is your body physiologically coping, as an example? And we've teamed up with experts from like Carnegie Mellon University, Rockefeller University, stress experts, to develop this system. Because my higher purpose is to bring this to the average person who is experiencing some sort of stress in their life. Not necessarily what I went through, but just in general for the everyday user, because as we know, stress it seems like it's increasing exponentially in our modern society.
So this is going to be something that not only measures the stress level, but also helps to teach you how to monitor that, to decrease it, and how to work with that within your own life.
That's correct, and it's be customized to you.
Mm-hmm.
So what I didn't mention is a very large component, as you know, Dr. Kim, is your coping. So how are you coping with stress? Stress is not bad. Stress gets a bad rap, but stress is not bad. It's usually what happens is, are we well equipped to cope with the stressors? So, for example, part of the intake, we will know your propensity for how you're handling stress. How are you coping with it? And then we give you specific recommendation to deal with it in a more effective way. No, Dr. Kim, can you see yourself using this with your patients?
Absolutely, because I feel like the work that I do within the session, this could just be used as something that carries that on. So that, of course, I would be helping somebody in stress to deal with their anxiety and their stress levels, and whether that's through mindfulness or whether it's through some other kind of exercises. It sounds like this is just something that they can also do for themselves and monitor it right there, so we can talk more about the success of what they've done through this app rather than continually teaching them the different skills. So yes, I think it would be very effective.
That's wonderful, and that was our goal, so that you, as their therapist, psychologist, becomes more productive, and the end result in all this is the client gets sort of exponential benefit, if you will, because it's a transfer of skills. And it's an extension, very much an extension from the office visit into the real world.
Right. And so what I would hope is that on this app that they are not just measuring the level, that they would have a place to record what they were doing and who they were with, because that would be helpful for me in the treatment with them.
Yes, and I'm very happy you asked that, because context is very important. We've designed a system so it contextually, as you as their doctor, you can see they were in a meeting with their boss, and you can see maybe their stress level spiking. No, that sounds bad, but anyways, or they were joyful.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, context is very important because it makes your life a lot easier.
Well, and I think the point you brought up is that some stress is good, and that people should feel that anticipatory stress because it gets them up, it gets them excited, and that part is good. But that the whole question is, how are they managing the stress and how is their body coping with it? So I think that is what your program is geared toward, is to really see how their body is reacting to it and what the effects are, is really going to be very helpful for them to see that, number one, that they maybe can manage more stress than they think, but number two, to help if their body is having an adverse reaction to it, and then to, in that moment, be able to de-stress themselves.
Absolutely. So it's very much a preventive measure, so you don't get to a chronic stress situation where you sort of nip it in the bud before it gets to be chronic.
Right.
Yeah, so yes, so that's
Right.
the goal.
Right. So yes, I think that all these new ways and innovative ways that people are helping people to access their mental health and to understand it and to understand the mind-body connection better, I think all of that is going to, serve us well, not just in us treating patients, but also for the patients to be able to understand themselves.
Wonderful. Well, I'm very glad to hear that, because that was our goal, our intent. So it serves multiple populations.
Great. How can people contact you and stay in touch with you in order to find out more about this?
Well, our website, our company name is StressWell IQ. So StressWellIQ.com is the domain. Now, there will be a sign-up if you want to be kept abreast of what's happening, how are we coming along with the development, when it's going to be launching. So that's the best way, and you can sign up for our mailing list, if you will, and we'll keep you abreast as to how things are coming along.
Well, thank you very much, Hardy Premsuk. I will certainly put your information on my website also for people to look up. We are going to go to a short break now, and I'll be right back.
You are listening to Dr. Kim Taylor on KZSB AM 1290.
If you are just joining us, we're talking about new technology in the field of mental health. And now I am talking to Jacques Habra. He's the CEO of Self Echo and the developer of the new app called Mobile Therapy. Welcome to the program.
Well, thank you for having me.
How can your new app, Mobile Therapy, be used to support mental health with both the patient and the therapist involved?
Sure. So mobile therapy is addressing a pain point that is common in clinical psychology and mental health, and that is that typically the professional psychologist or mental health professional is limited by whatever the client tells them while they're in session, and there's literally hundreds of undocumented hours in between sessions that, of course, the clinician is not privy to. And so the mobile therapy app and platform allows the therapist to gain a sense of what's really going on with the patient in between therapy visits, their ups and downs, their patterns, what might have affected their mood in a certain circumstance. The system is designed to really collect more data so that the clinician can make more informed diagnoses and provide better treatments.
So you're saying that this is really an extension of the patient-doctor relationship because the therapist is going to know more about what goes on for that patient throughout the week.
Exactly. There's a lot of well-being apps and solutions out there that are targeting the consumer that are designed to help the average person to feel better about their life and to improve their well-being and happiness. And when we set out to develop mobile therapy, we had a pretty significant pivot in that our client is the clinician. And we really want to empower the clinician with more data so that they can do their job better. We don't want to pretend to even for a minute to understand the significance of various events on how they affect somebody's mood. And certainly when you're talking about a specific person's process and development through some of these behavioral health issues, the power and the data really needs to be in the hands of that clinician. And our goal is to provide the clinician with more data and hopefully to get the client to be more invested in their own treatment by sharing more data when they're not being seen in session.
So kind of step me through the process. I mean, what would a patient do and then what would the therapist do after that?
Yes, so the therapist who wants to give it a try would sign up with mobile therapy, and then they would decide which of their clients, patients, they want to set up with the app. So they set up the patient. The patient would download the app automatically, and they would design specific metrics that they want to measure for that specific client. So if somebody is battling depression, they might get very different questions that the app will ask them versus someone who's dealing with a specific anxiety issue or managing through significant stress in their lives. So the clinician really does set up the patient one at a time around the metrics and the psychological metrics that they want to measure. And so throughout the day, the client is prompted actually based on their physical movement. So if they go from their home to the office, from their office to lunch, every time they move, the system asks them to check in and provide a little bit of feedback as to how the prior location, if you will, has affected their mood and impacted those various metrics that the clinician wants to track. And then all of this information is collated and easy to access for the clinician a few minutes before session, so hopefully they have a more contextual, more meaningful session, and then they could actually hop in after the session and modify the metrics that are being measured because, you know, as we know, during therapy, there may be an issue that is no longer a priority and a new item may come up. And so the clinician really has the control to change the metrics that are being measured in a real-time basis.
So what will happen is that a therapist will be able to see the context within which a patient is feeling certain feelings. The patient is going to monitor that on their phone app, and then the therapist can then check it out on their website. And it's just between the patient and the therapist. This information doesn't get collected or go to anyone else, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. The entire system, from the app to the web dashboard for the clinician, is entirely HIPAA compliant. And that's really not a trivial thing to be HIPAA compliant. You have to jump through quite a lot of hoops, both at the technical level but also at the administrative level. Basically, everyone who touches the system in terms of development or customer service has to agree to a pretty serious HIPAA compliant document for the entire company and the entire offering to be HIPAA compliant. But the way you describe the process is exactly correct. The client is collecting data on their well-being throughout the day, throughout the week, and the clinician can gain access to that data through the web dashboard and better understand what's really impacting their client's well-being and probably identify triggers and patterns and proactively potentially point things out and help them to go through these issues.
Okay, so it really does fill in the blanks about what happens throughout the rest of the week.
It does. That's the first objective, is to fill in the blanks, to bridge the information gap between sessions. And the second objective, and this is very optional, and I'm sure Dr. Taylor, as a therapist, you've got mixed feelings on this, but it does allow for the therapist to intervene on the fly in between sessions as well, which is something that some therapists really do appreciate. The idea that if somebody's going through a major panic or a major anxiety moment, they may need some counseling right at that moment. And this technology allows the therapist to step in and to intervene, whether it's a phone call or a text message. The system facilitates that process of intervention, and it does allow the clinician to know at the exact moment what is going on and how they could, what's impacting their well-being, the client's well-being, how the clinician might be able to step in and provide some counsel. So, it's certainly in that respect very disruptive in a positive sense, because when we think about therapy in a traditional sense, we're typically limited to when we have access to our clinicians, which for most people is once a week or once every 2 weeks. And sometimes that's sufficient, and other times you might think, well, boy, wouldn't it be great if me as the client could get some feedback and some guidance right at the moment of anxiety or stress.
Okay, that sounds like it would be very helpful. How did you get the idea of bringing this on and to create this kind of program?
Yeah, about 3.5 years ago, I really wanted to figure out a way to take the data footprint that each of us now create on a daily basis. When we're carrying our smartphones around, we have a tremendous amount of data that we're creating. We're providing feedback on our physical locations, on who we're spending our time with, and I thought to myself, wouldn't it be interesting to be able to also cross-reference our day-to-day activities with our emotional sentiment? And so that was really where Self-Echo, the company, was born. But what I realized quickly in working with psychologists and scientists is that the real value of this kind of a solution is if the data is first in the hands of a professional, where they can really make meaning out of the data. They can really turn that data into actionable assignments and feedback, and really provide greater treatment, better treatment as a result of that improved data. So, about 1.5 years ago, we shifted gears as a company and decided to really provide this solution to clinicians. They're the ones who sign up for it, and then they decide, based on the situation on a per-client basis, which clients would get the most value out of mobile therapy.
Have you tested the results by both patient and the therapist to find out how well this is all going and how helpful it is?
We have. Last year we conducted 2 separate pilots. The first was about 20 clinicians, each with one client, and then the second was 50 clinicians with an average of 2 clients. And we received a lot of great feedback on how to improve the system, everything from the language of of how questions are asked on the smartphone app to what information we provide the client through the app versus the way the information is accessed for the clinician so that they can easily figure out those ups and downs without spending too much time on the system. And then we decided to release the product in very limited audiences in December of 2014. And today we have 200 clinicians across the country signed up. About 150 have begun onboarding their clients. And the kind of outcomes that we're hearing are twofold. There's a lot of clinicians telling us that they're getting to know their clients faster and more intimately with the system. The system's providing more data, more information so that they're able to say, okay, I now am noticing a pattern right in the first 2 to 3 weeks of providing you some treatment. Sometimes that would take longer in traditional therapy processes. The second big outcome is that clinicians are telling us that with the system, clients are more invested in their treatment. When you think about, wanting to, say, improve your physicality, if you want to get in better shape, you might go out and invest in some athletic shoes or a gym membership. That becomes a regular thing that you see or that you're spending money on that is a motivator to go out and use those running shoes or hit the gym. If you've got mobile therapy reminding you on a regular basis to check in, to have a bit of mindfulness and self-awareness about your mood and how you're impacted by your surroundings, you're more invested in your treatment. So your sessions with your client, with your clinician, become more contextual, hopefully more impactful. And that's a second big positive outcome we've heard so far in the last few months.
So I am here talking to Jacques Aubrey, and he is talking about mobile therapy, and it is a smartphone and a desktop platform through which therapists and their patients can check in with each other between appointments. So how can people sign up to use this app?
Sure. So right now it's available for just clinicians, although if a client is in the audience and they're interested in trying this with their clinician, we have a way to sign up to encourage your clinician to try it out. You just go to mobiletherapy.com. It's exactly as it sounds, mobile, M-O-B-I-L-E, and then therapy.com. And there's plenty of places on there to learn more about our science team. We've got some tremendous research psychologists that are part of the team, and learn more about how the product works, and, of course, sign up for a free trial.
Okay, well, that sounds very good, and I will definitely post both of those on my website also at Dr. Kim at drkimtaylorshow.com. Jacques, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor.
I'm Dr. Kim Taylor, and you're listening to KZSB AM 1290.
You are listening to Dr. Kim Taylor on KZSB AM 1290.
I am here now with Robert Morris, and he's the co-founder of Coco, which is a new social app for emotional health and well-being, especially designed for people dealing with depression. He's earned his AB in psychology from Princeton and his PhD in media arts and sciences from MIT. He's also an award-winning designer, and his work has been featured in Time, Wired, the BBC, and the Boston Globe. Welcome to the program, Robert.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start out by you just telling us how you got the idea for creating Coco and exactly what is it?
So, I began my career in psychology. I did my undergraduate in psychology. I started a PhD in psychology. But I eventually found myself at MIT completely overwhelmed, having had no previous engineering training, no computer science training. And I was very stressed out. And my only saving grace was this little website that I would go to every day called Stack Overflow. And it was this place where anytime I had a problem in my computer code, I could go online and this amazing hive and crowd of programmers would come to my aid and help me solve any problem I was having with my code. It was this beautiful marvel of collective intelligence. And so while I was at MIT, my core research aim was to try and build new technologies for mental health. And as I was dealing with my own stress and my own issues adjusting to MIT, I saw this website, and it occurred to me that just as we can find a way to use a crowd and leverage the intelligence of a crowd to help us find and identify and fix bugs in our code, perhaps we could use something similar to help us find and identify and fix bugs in our thinking. So that prompted me to build a very social platform to help people learn just very basic cognitive therapy skills. And the idea was also to build something that would be really engaging and really social for individuals. So there are a lot of apps on the market now that you can download, and they're quote unquote self-guided, and they'll teach you some basic cognitive behavioral therapy techniques without necessarily a clinician oversight. The problem with the apps is that a lot of people just simply fail to use them enough. So they'll download them and quickly abandon them or get rid of them. So I really wanted, as a design philosophy, to try and expose people to some of these really valuable techniques in a way that would just naturally keep them coming back. So the app eventually evolved to resemble very popular apps like Facebook and Twitter. So it has a lot of the same social mechanics built in that keep you coming back. But the difference is while you're on this app, you're interacting with people and practicing some of these basic cognitive therapy skills with each other.
So there is anywhere from 6 to 10% of the U.S. population that is affected by depression. So explain how this self-guided web-based intervention, how it works. Because if someone, for instance, is feeling hurt because, let's say, a friend didn't call them back, so they go to this app, and what happens?
Well, right now, one of the things the app will do is it will coach you how to basically articulate that stressor. So you might write down that you tried to call your friend and they didn't call you back. The app will then prompt you to kind of get to the root of what is bothering you about that situation. So it might prompt you to then further write down that, well, this is proof that my friend really doesn't like me. This is further proof that I don't really have many friends and I'm a kind of unlikable person. So you'd send that out to the network, the crowd. It's sort of like a very different type of Facebook status update where you're actually revealing your vulnerabilities, and it's coaxing you to do so according to some of the premises of cognitive therapy. And then what happens is that post will go out to the network, and different people on the app will come back and help you nudge your cognition, your thinking, back to a more adaptive place. So you might have some people help you spot what we call cognitive distortions. I like to call them bugs, just given my MIT background, in your thinking. And they might say, well, perhaps you're mind reading. Are you sure you're 100% positive that, your friend didn't call you because she doesn't like you? So they might find some of these distortions in your thinking. You have another set of crowd workers that do what we call supportive reappraisals, where they want to validate your feelings, but they also want to craft some alternative narratives of the situation for you. So just reminding the person that there are many reasons this person might not have called you back. Perhaps they were busy, perhaps their phone battery died. I know that happens to me all the time. There are always innumerable ways to interpret a situation, and they don't have to be the most catastrophic one that comes to mind. And sometimes when we're very stressed, our brain's ability to think creatively and with poise is systematically impaired. So what this app does initially is it helps sort of provide an extra resource to give you all these alternative ways to think about situations that are not so dire, not so catastrophic. And the second part of the app, which is really fascinating, and we have some further research suggesting that this may be, in fact, one of the most therapeutic parts of it, is as a user on this app, you are encouraged and incentivized to go help other people and practice some of these basic skills by helping other people, help other people reframe distressing situations, help other people identify bugs in their thinking, etc.
Okay, so let me just ask a couple of questions about that. So you were saying that the CBT, or cognitive behavioral therapy, is kind of a blanket term that we use for a number of skills to help people deal with negative thinking and helping them to change it to more positive thinking. And what you're saying is that they're not asking a therapist to do this now for them. They're putting it out there on the internet. And who are these people that are providing this positive feedback to them? Do they have any experience, or are they just the layperson out there?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I can tell you there are some therapists on our app, but the thing we're trying to play with is whether people can just start exploring some of these techniques. It's not meant to be any sort of replacement for formal mental health services or a therapist, and indeed we tell people it's a self-help tool. But the people on the app are other people just like you. There is a little bit of training you all have to go through when you're on the app before you can reply, and we have a very sophisticated moderation system that makes sure everything on the app adheres to our standards of being helpful and tactful. But it is meant to be a very peer-to-peer system. And I think there's something very powerful bringing peers together to help each other overcome, some of these chronic problems with negative thinking. It's something similar to, Alcoholics Anonymous or other peer recovery movements, where there's definitely a place alongside all the other tools, not only just formal mental health resources, but some of the tools your guests have discussed. There is a place for peers to work on techniques with each other.
Okay, so that is one of the ways in which this platform is different from online groups, is that there is some training. But how do you ensure the safety on your platform just to make sure that the trolls are not out there to badger people?
Yeah, so
especially who are vulnerable.
Exactly. So it is a vulnerable population. And this is something that was extremely important from the inception of this project it was 4 or 5 years ago. It's something I worked on with the MIT Institutional Review Board, and we had other collaborators at Northwestern as well. And there are a couple things that we do. So the first thing we do is we do have human moderators looking at everything before it goes out to the network. And there are a variety of ways to do this very efficiently and cost effectively. We use a service from Amazon called Mechanical Turk, and we actually programmatically hire people at any time of day. It could be 4 a.m, and they usually will come on and review stuff within minutes, and it usually costs a few pennies. We also have a whole host of algorithms that are designed to also step in and look for particular patterns in speech to see if there are any inappropriate comments or posts. And certainly if someone is posting something on our network that isn't appropriate for the services we provide, we also have similar mechanisms to immediately give them other resources, and we work with other groups to help with that.
Okay, one of the things that I did like when I read about what you're doing is that those who are helping those online who are depressed and to try to help them turn around their thoughts, that there's also something in helping others that is a psychological benefit for those helping, much like perhaps AA and things like that, where there is something that both sides of this are receiving, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. And have you done some testing on that about whether people are really feeling the psychological benefit of being the helpers to people out there who are in need of help?
Yeah. The first thing we obviously did was just to test whether repeated use of the system, however you're using it, could confer some psychological advantage. So we did do that. But we now are working with Columbia. They're analyzing our data set, and they're looking at specifically what type of behaviors on the platform predict the best outcomes. So is it, posting frequently and getting lots of reappraisals or responses or insights from a crowd? Is that the most helpful thing? Or is it the other side of the equation? Is it helping behavior? And we're seeing a very clear relationship such that the more you help other people on the platform, the better your outcomes. And we're diving even further to see, what about helping others is useful? Is it just the positive feeling of being altruistic? Is it a feeling of self-efficacy? Hey, if I can help someone else with this, maybe I can turn it back on myself. Or is it simply a matter of training a skill over and over, and helping others is a great way to expose you to the skill repeatedly? And we're trying to dive in very deeply to see what precisely is mediating the relationship.
Okay, so how can people sign up to use this app?
Yeah, so it's invite only. I should say it's designed for everyone, not just individuals with depression. Anyone who could benefit from just an introduction to some basic cognitive therapy skills in a fun, engaging, social way can be free to try it. It's invite only now, but we are bringing in dozens of people a day on our list. So if your listeners are interested, they can go to www.itscoco.com, and we spell Coco with K's, and I'm sure they can find that on your website as well.
Yes, I have been talking to Robert Morris. He is the co-founder of COCO, and I definitely will put all of your contact info on my website. Thank you very much, Robert, for being here and talking to us about this. It sounds very exciting.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back, and I will have some closing comments.
You are listening to Dr. Kim Taylor on KZSB AM 1290.
Well, there are a lot of things out there that are new, that are kind of the cutting edge, and it sounds like it's going to be the wave of the future to really getting us to that place of having more information and having more access to things that can help us with our mental health. So if you are interested in this and in the field, you can certainly contact my guests by going to my website at drkimtaylorshow.com. So that's my program. There's always a lot to talk about, and it seems like this hour goes by so fast. But we will be doing this again next Thursday, when you can check in at 5 o'clock. And if you missed some part of this program and you want to listen to the rebroadcast, their show on Thursday evening at 10 p.m. and Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. right here at KZSB AM 1290. You can also find my past shows by going to iTunes and downloading the free weekly podcasts, or now you can find them on my YouTube channel. Just go to my website for the links at drkimtaylorshow.com. And of course, I love to hear from you, so keep sending your emails to me at drkim@drkimtaylorshow.com. I want to thank Mark Giles, my engineer, and until next week, when I'll be back here live at 5, as I am every Thursday, I'm Dr. Kim Taylor, and until then, remember, nobody else has to change in order for you to feel better. And maybe with all the new technology being brought out and developed, that we'll have a more interactive approach to our health, and you'll be able to assist in your own overall mental health and physical well-being too. Until next time, take good care.